You know, opening up the space, sorry, Mark, again, opening up the space is very key. If you talk about, because young Nigerians, they've been very, very vibrant and creative in terms of trying to make ends meet in their own good ways. But it would seem as if it goes back again to the economy we talked about. Just last week, we were looking at small businesses in the country and how they are dying. A couple of individuals had written us, sent us emails how they've not been able to pay some of their small staff to the extent that some of them have been laid off. So if you say people want to get rich quickly, and vis-a-vis what hasn't been working for these small businesses, it then means that we're having more and more disengaged youth. Yes. And you get to see more in such lotos, whether you like it or not, until the government does something quite differently and very fast adapt to. So what would be those quick wins, you know, those low-hanging fruits that you think that the government can put in place very quickly to making sure that these people don't really go out of line?
Well, like I always tell people who care to listen, that first and foremost, we have to give the job provision of job creation to the job providers, which is the private sector. So, and then for you to tackle the issue of unemployment very seriously, you have to be sure of what you want to do. You have to be strategic enough, and you have to ensure that those avenues that can actually absorb our youth are open, the channels are open, and then it's more liberal.
From what you've seen so far, you think this government is sure of what they want to do?
They're just coming on. We'll see how far it goes on that. But I'm sure they have a blueprint.
6 months just coming on?
They're just coming on.
Would you say that they're creating room for feedback? Because apparently it would seem that, yes, they might have their agenda. It's one thing to also communicate it, and it's another thing to get feedback in terms of areas where people would also love you to concentrate on. So, for instance, you just mentioned human resource development. Do you think that they have that room for feedback?
Certainly, for now, I've not really seen that. But I'm sure in the course of the implementation of the government's programs, we will see that. But for now, the government hasn't really taken off. So I'm sure I'm sure we're going to have Minister for Labour, Minister for Youth and all that can actually come up with a blueprint to engage all this.
Did you imagine that it was going to take this long for the government to rev up its engine?
Let me tell you the experience I had when our former President Obasanjo was there. It took the administration of Obasanjo 2 years to get it right. It was like more of trial and error in the first 2 years. President Buhari left government over 30 years ago. And now so many things have changed. How many presidents have we had? How many administrations have we had? I'm not giving an excuses. But
circumstances were very, very different.
So now
because he's contested several times for this imposition. So many of the things that look, he's
does that still change the fact that now? Does that still change the fact that now he's there? And then I'm sure since he came on board, he must have seen things differently from the way he was seeing them even when he was contesting. It doesn't take away the fact. So this man is there now. And then Mr. President that I know is a man who doesn't want to make mistakes, because the hype, everything is so much, the expectation is so much. For me, 6 months, 6 years, I agree with it. Well, he didn't create that. But I'm sure he's going to fix it.
Who did? I mean, people are complaining about the forex restriction. Former CBN governor saying they may have to remove that. Several feedback from people who are out there on the streets. SMEs are complaining, companies. Those are the chain, what really drives the country. So,
but I still want to maintain that he didn't create this. There has been a build-up.
Why was he elected?
You can be elected, and when you get there and you look at the realities on ground, then you begin to provide solutions to what to do.
Some people will say that there are certain scenarios that, okay, the president did not create. For instance, the fall in the price of crude oil. He didn't create that. But, you know, some of the policies that government has tried to put in place to mitigate the effects of some of those things. For instance, the TSA. Banks are complaining that there's a lack of liquidity, and it's beginning to affect in terms of how money is going around and even the ability to even give loans. Some people will say that by now we should also be perhaps looking at the effect of some of the policies that have been put in place by government, and perhaps government should also, as you rightly said, you've not quite seen a mechanism for feedback. in terms of how these mechanisms or some of these policies are affecting the populace, and perhaps some measures to, is it lighten the burden, as it were? We're not seeing that. Are you seeing it?
Sincerely, I'm of this belief that the new administration has a lot to do, you know, and for me, I think when we're in a dire situation like this, what we need as a people is to come together and see how we can forge a common front, and then try to be, maybe give that government, the administration, the benefit of the doubt of what they are going to do. Now everybody is talking about, 6 months is too far. It's simply because of what we inherited, the backlog of what has been happening in the past. So for me, I think we just have to give this administration the benefit of the doubt to see what they will do, especially when the government is fully in place.
What do you think about the 3 million jobs per year?
It's achievable as long as
this year. Can we do it this year?
I don't see that happening.
In the first year.
In the first year, yeah. Because you need to put in infrastructure. All the things.
But that's what was promised.
Let me tell you something.
They didn't know they were going to put those things in place before they promised it.
How can you put it in place in 6 months?
No, I'm not saying in 6 months. I said the promise for the yearly promise. Not 6 months, the yearly one. Do you see it coming to fruition in the first year?
No, I don't see that. I won't. If anybody tells you that can happen, I will argue that, because lots of things have to be in place, and they are yet to be in place. So I don't know how that's going to, the years, we have less than 90 days now to come to the end of the year. So how is that going to be happening?
No, the first political year.
So, okay, you mean from May to, of course it's feasible. Yeah, they can do it. Yes, I thought you said before the end of this year. No, it's feasible. Yes, you can. As long as the government has the will and the zeal to do that.
Is it okay for Nigerians to give timelines to the president? Do you think that will be in place? I'm just wondering, looking at it in relation to the war against Boko Haram. I mean, the president has such a timeline. That's one area that he seems, a lot of people would say he looks sure-footed, and he's given a deadline, he's given a timeline, as it were. For every other thing, we still seem a little unsure. I mean, we had been told that ministers would be in place by September.
And they came.
They were given, their names were just submitted on the last day of September.
And it was in September, it was in October.
This is October, this is November. The ministers still don't have a portfolio.
Certainly, see, I don't want us to belabor ourselves with this issue of portfolio.
No, I'm not belaboring
just hold on.
It's an issue of Nigeria. We don't not have ministers at the moment. We do not have ministers, do we?
We have.
No, you really can't say you do have not ministers. Who are the ministers?
They've not been sworn in.
So long as they've not been sworn in, that's what Mark was trying to say. If we were promised this in September, and we didn't get it in September, what we got was a list on the eve of independence. And this is November, and it is the beginning, the 4th day in the 6th month for the administration. And still, we're saying now that they are coming, they're not there yet, because we haven't seen them. They've not been sworn in. So she's asking, isn't this too late in coming? How magical can we get to fix things, knowing full well that we have lost a long period of time?
So for me, and this thing has been a process, and then
a long process. A long process.
So I'm sure in due course the ministers will be sworn in, and then the expectations of Nigerians will be met. But I think for me, I'm more concerned about what these guys are coming to do now when they come. How much are they keen into the vision of the president? I want to see.
Do you know the vision of the president?
Yes, I from the body language, I think this is one president who is one of his vision is prudent management of our resources, discipline, fighting corruption.
You can see that from the body language.
Yes. We can see from that. Even if he has not said, but you can see that he's one president who is more interested in prudent management of our... The minister was keen to that. It is a president who whose watchword is discipline, they must keen to that. This is a president who believes in the strict application of the rule of law, which he has been exhibiting in the last few days. The ministers must keen to that. He is zero tolerance to corruption. The ministers must keen to that. Yeah, this is the area I am so concerned about. So I want to see a minister, or rather I want to see a minister who will be at the airport with me, who will fly Nigerian, our Nigerian airlines, queue, get tickets as I do. I want to see a minister of education whose children will attend public schools here. I want to see a minister of health. I don't want him to travel abroad. He should receive the same healthcare we will receive in Nigeria. Come to the same general hospital, and that's the kind. I don't want any flamboyant.
Is that possible?
Suleiman, how can you say it's not possible?
And when you talk about body language, I also recall when the president, during his campaign as a presidential candidate, also flew out for medicals.
Which presidential candidate flew out for medicals?
When he went to London, President Muhammad Buhari, when he went to London, and people said...
Did he tell you if he went for medicals?
You didn't see that in the papers? Didn't that come from the campaign organization that he went to rest?
So the bottom line is, that is the kind of ministers I want to see, who will stay here and do things that Nigerians do. The same healthcare delivery system. I want to see a minister of transport that will take train from, that will join train from Lagos to Ibadan. Those are the kind of ministers I want to see. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for us, we need to look at all these areas, but most especially the economy revival is very important right now.
So do you think that this government is approaching the economy?
That is the agenda setting. That's what we're saying. That is what we're saying.
But people are saying they're not approaching it the way they want, with urgency.
How do you want them to do when right now the infrastructure that are needed are just being put in place in terms of human resources, people that will work on all these things?
Okay, so you remain optimistic?
Very, very optimistic. And the president, Mr. President is doing the same thing. He said he's an optimistic person, and he knows that he is sure that things will get on track as the moment the executive are in place.
Thank you very much indeed, Oladimeji Fabiyi, talking to us today on expectations ahead this week and the days beyond. We'll be back in a moment to go one more perspective on the matter. Don't go away yet.